Phil Hogan, welcome to the 11th Forum for the Future of Agriculture. You are, of course, the EU Commissioner for Agriculture and Rural Affairs. You're very much at the forefront of everyone's thoughts here in Brussels, I'm sure, at the moment, with lots of announcements due to come up. Now, you said to the Forum last year, and you've just talked to them now, the compass is broken with CAP, we've lost our way a little bit. Let's recap, let's move forward, let's have clear targets and measurable performance. Was that your message to the Forum today?
Well, I think I'm the only one at the forum today, sitting on the panel that I was at, that had a proposal to make about how we can improve things. And I'm very happy with the reaction that I'm getting now to the CAP communication, which sets out our policy priorities. And this was published last November. And as we go around to the member states and talk to our farmers, and talk to our agribusiness, talk to our ministries, and we explain what we have in mind, we're getting more and more positive reaction and traction. Because it's going to be based around objectives, targets, indicators, results, rather than just spending money.
The right policy framework, the right method of delivery, model of delivery. So, for example, hard numbers on looking at carbon emissions.
Yes, we have a situation at the moment where we allocate money for particular purposes, but we don't measure it. And we don't know whether it's working or whether it's not working. My instinct says that it's not working, and therefore we have to change the system. And we have to work with our member states to make them accountable and responsible for targets that they will be putting to their various sectors and various agricultural sectors in order to do more. Even though our greenhouse gas emissions in agriculture have gone down by 20% over the last 20 years, it's not enough, because agriculture is a higher emitter of those particular emissions. But of course, sometimes farmers get blamed for being part of the problem. I want them to be part of the solution. And then we can say to other sectors, well, you have to do your bit as well.
There was a shift to looking at and protecting and helping those that need it most. So these small and medium-sized farms, that was something that hasn't happened before. I mean, that was clearly where the CAP wasn't working. How important will that be, and will that absolutely guaranteed happen with this change?
I suppose sometimes when you have a difficulty in the union like Brexit, you have to analyse all of your priorities, and you have to see where you want to go in terms of the resources that we will have. The United Kingdom was a net contributor to the European Union of about 10 to 12 billion euro. So if we don't have new money, well, then we have to cut our cloth to suit our measure, and we have to prioritise. And I am prioritising small and medium-sized farmers in the distribution of payments post-Brexit. And I made that very clear today.
You had a pig farmer on the panel. He was asked about the reduction in production and consumption of meat, and he said, no, that's not needed. But when we look at CO2 emissions, surely that's something that you need to look at and address. It was a real issue in the forum today.
Yes, and we have to set targets for our member state countries to do more in agriculture in relation to dealing with the climate change challenge. It's becoming a greater and greater challenge, as we see, from flooding in the Baltics to drought in Spain and Italy and Portugal in 2017. So it's now real, and we have to have adjustment of our policies in terms of helping the farmer to cope with it, but equally mitigating and adapting our climate change, and we have to set targets to do that. And better breeding techniques is one way of actually looking at how we can achieve this.
Do you feel that your work in this area can help reverse some of the damage and destruction to nature? Ariel Brunner, for example, was on the panel today feeling really quite sceptical.
Yeah, well, Ariel has dined out in scepticism for 10 years now, so Ariel has said nothing new. I'm the only one who had a proposal about how we can address some of his concerns in relation to the environment, climate and biodiversity. But now we're going to put the pressure on member states to be able to, when we set targets to achieve our objectives, that we will be able to monitor what they're doing, seek to have better performance and results, and pay them accordingly. So there will be a mixture of stick and carrot in relation to how we deal with these issues in the future, and there will be no hiding place.
Sum up for us then the announcements that are coming up, because you've got announcements in April, we've got budgets which are still under wraps, but all of this news is coming soon.
Well, we're going to simplify the policy. We're going to modernise the policy to take account of our international agreements on environment and climate. We're going to have a much more higher level of ambition on environment and climate, and farmers are going to be at the centre of providing those solutions rather than being accused of being part of the problem.
How important is it, even if you're hearing views that you've heard before, how important is it to come here and have this open dialogue and air these views and set out your stall?
I visit member states. I go to a lot of events like this right around the European Union. I've met 1,200 farmers in the last week, And meeting 2,000 more today in the FFA is a real privilege and an honour to be invited and to engage with those stakeholders, which of course at the end of the day, those are the people that we're trying to serve, to make their lives better, to be able to perform better for food security, perform better for society in relation to public goods, and working together hopefully we can fine-tune our policies to achieve all of those objectives.
Phil Hogan, EU Commissioner for Agriculture and Rural Affairs, thank you very much for joining us today at the forum.